የተወደዳችሁ የሰላም ካቶሊክ ቲቪ ተመልካቾች ቤተክርስቲያን በተልዕኮ ላይ ፕሮግራም ላይ ዛሬ እንግዳ ይዘን እንቀርበናል። ግርማ እንደምን አለ?
Thank you Father Petros, and thank you for having me here. My name is Girma Sagar, and I'm an Ethiopian that went on a very long expedition in the Netherlands. I lived there for 28 years, and what I'm doing now is what I did as a baby. I'm learning. I'm an eternal student of life, and the lessons that I learn, I try to implement in all areas. So in my professional life as an entrepreneur, I am managing a company that's focused on ecological building. Also managing another company that's focused on education reform and educational transformation, as well as we have an NGO that supports social initiatives towards justice, and I'm a member of a couple of boards and initiatives, among others, World Connectors, which is
World Connectors,
a think tank that puts consciousness into action, and it's a Dutch think tank that contributes to social and ecological justice in a systemic way by connecting people that are putting consciousness into action into different professional activities. And I'll delve into it a little bit more, but that's in
we have raised about this essay, education, transforming the society, transforming the young generation, so that they can be agents of, peace, so to say. In some societies, it's very much needed. So when it comes to Ethiopia, you are now trying to contribute to the situation of the Ethiopian society. Peace is very important. We have a young generation here in Ethiopia. About 70% is under the age of 30, we say. So education is very important. Human formation is very important. Not only intellectual formation, but the human formation. So when it comes to, being, means then it's not only forming, but to become someone. Conscious living is very important in this aspect. So your vision to implement it here in Ethiopia with the organizations, institutions who are doing also in the same area is very important. So that's how also we relate ourselves with our colleges. We try to form also young people. The Catholic Church is known also for education, in the education sector, general education, but also vocational, or also at the level of the university. So we are trying to contribute greatly in the education sector, which is also very much appreciated by many. Forming young people is for you also very important. And can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because as we go forward, this is a big, initiative which we need to take in different areas, whether it's just human formation, but also for peace building, and then that would be also an aspect which we can discuss further. Yeah.
So to form young people, I would first have to talk a little bit about how we look at forming in general. So the formative process or the development process in general of human beings is, in my opinion, not only in my opinion, but it can be seen as continuously. However, there are some laws that we have to abide by in terms of biological laws and natural universal laws of cause and effect, where we see that it becomes more challenging with time to change certain areas in the human psyche or in the physical body. It doesn't become it's not impossible, of course, but it becomes more challenging because of all the interplay of forces that all the forces that are at play. So to make it more clear is it's not per se that I believe that education is there for only for up to a certain age, because it is what it is, and afterwards you're an adult and you've learned it, and then you can go out of the world. It is just it is because of the understanding of what it means to be human, namely cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. And then 40 years down the line, my brain paths are so stuck that I have to take a sabbatical of 1.5 years to not be to be able to develop in a pace as fast as a child would develop, because the society. Then what it doesn't mean to be human in relation to how do we construct society. The society does not in the Netherlands. Does not really allow us to stand still. It's go, 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 at one agenda point to the other. So because that society, with age, it becomes even more. You have little time to rest, to think. It becomes more difficult. So I don't really. So it's an interplay of things. It's because the face of the environment of a person that is 30 years of age makes it more difficult to develop than the environment of a person that's 6 years of age. It might be more logical to focus on educational reform in a certain age group, which can be seen as children, adolescents, etc. However, we're still doing the other thing as well through consultancy and strategy for companies. So that's one. But then we go to the philosophy on education, which is also something that I'm continuously learning from. We're learning from how you are doing it. I'm learning about Ethiopian educational philosophy, which is part of my identity as well, and which then I can synthesize and develop our own understanding of education. But how we see it now, and this is not as this is the Holy Grail, but this is how we see it, and we want to learn more and more and more to improve that as well. Is that learning is about oneself, the other, and the world around us. And I have to also mention educational philosopher and educational authority, Gerd Bista. Also, he's a very big influence on my philosophy, and he has this concept of world-centered education, which which comes back to our philosophy as well. So about oneself, the other, and the world around us. And it's not so much as giving normative principles as what is good and what is not good, or what needs to be learned. However, there are three things: socialization, qualification, and subjectification in the theory that we subscribe of Gerd Bista. And for the qualification part, we just have to understand reality in terms of if I couldn't speak this language, I couldn't talk to you. So I have to learn a language, not per se English, but in this context it would be good. It could also be Amharic, it would be even better. So language to connect is a part. Then you have mathematical skills, you have reasoning skills, etc., etc., etc. Those are the skills that we say, okay, that's needed to be qualified, to be able to manage yourself in the society that we constructed. But it's relative because that's how we constructed it. If we would live in a world where we're not talking with words, but with hand gestures, those elements of qualification would change then. So that's relative to what's needed to the social construct. The socialization part has to do with how one relates with the other, right? And so going back to the central question, what does it mean to be human? Then our philosophy is that there is no one human. There's humanity. A human, of course, you can become a hermit, but you can become a hermit. You can't be born a hermit, because then you will not be born. So what it means to be human is to be with humans and the relationship in between. So that social part, socialization, is how to be able to hold yourself, your own identity, without damaging the other identity, and together becoming more than the sum of its parts. That's our belief, not per se Gerd Bissa's belief. And then to come to the subjectification part, which is actually the pillar of what we do with education, that is about what you just mentioned before, becoming someone. So not just becoming a college graduate or becoming a Dutch citizen or an Ethiopian citizen, but becoming an I. A unique person. And that begins with understanding what it means to be me. And that's what we focus on the educational reform.
And how did you do some of these things as an example on this? It's very interesting. I mean, these areas which you have mentioned, qualification, socialization, and subjectification, and these are important elements also in general education, but also in vocational or further education. And it's not also limited to the schools, but throughout your life, these are important areas. You develop, you improve your capacity in each area. Always but through your foundation, are there examples which you can mention where you did some concrete contribution?
Yeah. So a concrete example is with as education within the prison system that we're working. We're currently doing a project in a youth prison system for offenders that have long sentences. Either youth offenders, but they have long sentences. And within that system, then you have to work with what you have. So we're reforming the curriculum that we can actually implement. What we're doing there is we're actually implementing something that's called creatief makerschap, which is creative artship. Yeah. Where we do it in a cyclical process. So what we do is we're already engaged in lessons, and from these lessons we actually extract lessons how to create the curriculum that will in the next year will start. And we take a similar approach here. So here in Ethiopia, the iteration process. But concretely, what we're doing, we're seeing, okay, what are the tools that we have in terms of education, and that is, for example, the subject fashion and textile. So we can't just say, okay, we're coming with a new subject and this and this and this has to change. No, first we just use what is there. So fashion and textile was a domain that was there. Students were teach basic sewing techniques, making, for example, bags or caps or things to wear. But then we take the approach of which of the fundamental questions can we put into this mode of teaching, which relates to what does it mean to be me, how does it relate to the other, and how does it relate to the world around us. So for fashion and textile, those questions were integrated by having a module where first the students will ask themselves, what am I wearing and why am I wearing that? What are my assumptions that are underlying? So from the superficial, go to the semantics. What is the meaning of the shoes that I'm wearing, the brand that I'm wearing? And then the next step would be to, this is the theoretical part, the next step would be to question what others are wearing and which assumptions are underneath there. The idols that the students have, what are they wearing? And could it be that what their idols are wearing, or the people that they look up to, influence the way they look at the world? Or could it also be that the way they look at the world influence who their idols are and how they treat? So getting an understanding of the semantics of what fashion and textile actually does in society. And we translate that into a way that is understandable for everyone, although it shouldn't be underestimated that just because the students find themselves in a prison system, that does not say anything about their intellect. So some students will grasp this conversation easily and can just talk with us. And some students will be able to grasp that in the future, but these topics should be then translated into a way that they understand, and then it will be made practical by that they will be making something that reflects their values, and that doesn't. So we're not saying, okay, what you're thinking now is not good because you only want Dolce & Gabbana or only brand. No, so there's no normative judgment. There's no value judgment whatsoever. It is just that they consciously produce them, so they also learn the skill to sew and all these things, so that's also the qualification part. But they're going to consciously produce their values and see them manifested in material. And only what we've seen is by doing that process, and without judging or saying anything about it, the student will go into a process where it actually will question himself or herself. In this case, it's him because it's a male youth penitentiary. And the student will ask its own questions and will say, is this actually something that I stand for? Student might be religious, and then it gives himself the time to see these religious values and what I'm now producing, that's in contrast. Or what my parents gave with me and what I'm now producing, that's in contrast. So it gives room, and that's what I think education is also about, for questioning and making mistakes. And mistakes in the sense of that the goal that has been put forth has not been reached, or that the goal that has been put forth was not the right goal. So the student will think, maybe I didn't want to make that. And the next thing that it will make will reflect the shift in values until, in the end, the student will come to its essence. That can be in 80 years as well. I'm not at my essence. And will only produce what is in line with its values. And this is actually an analogy that can be transferred. transferred to any walks of life, because it's not only about producing your own shoes or socks within a textile module, but producing even the sounds that I'm making now, what I'm saying, how I'm treating anybody else. If that's in line with the essence of me, then I not only found my essence, but I'm producing my essence. And that's what we're doing in small steps in the prison system, for example, in the prison system in the Netherlands.
Thank you for giving us this concrete example about the formation or an educational system through the vision you are trying to use and work with. So we have raised a number of issues in our conversation. Another aspect is with which you are engaged in is developing a culture of dialogue in a society. We discussed about it in the past few weeks when we met, I remember, and you are fascinated with also that area of social engagement, trying to bring conflicting parties together and to see how conflicts can be resolved. We have been talking about the role even some church institutions and the interreligious councils here in Ethiopia are also doing. And we mentioned also the role of Professor Hizkias Asafa, the one who is also expert in mediation work internationally. And dialogue is an important aspect in which we have to be involved in the coming period. Hopefully we will work on that together. We were saying that also. So what is the role of the Ethiopian diaspora? Somehow I was in the Netherlands also. We were also doing with some of the Ethiopians who are living in Amsterdam. We were conducting some meetings together with some experts and so on. And the diaspora community can contribute greatly to positively to the situation in Ethiopia, especially in promoting a culture of dialogue. We have also a foundation which works together with the different churches and the religious institutions to promote peaceful coexistence here in Ethiopia. It's an important task for the churches to engage in promoting a culture of dialogue here in this society. It would be good, to take a few minutes on this topic. To discuss a little bit about your vision and your plan to contribute in this area.
The role of the Ethiopian diaspora is maybe too big for me to reiterate that, because I'm not the spokesperson for the entire diaspora. However, I am part of the diaspora as an Ethiopian adoptee, so I will talk about it from my perspective, how I would see myself, and maybe I can also talk a little bit about the perspective of the Ethiopian Dutch diaspora community, Ethio Holland, because I am a community organizer there. But further than that, I can't, because the diaspora is not homogeneous. The American Ethiopian diaspora has a far different context, the Swedish, etc. So I would limit myself to that. I think the first thing is to understand our role. So to learn about ourselves in relation to our Ethiopianness before jumping into action and believing that we can contribute just because of the narrative we are in the global north, and our brothers and sisters in Ethiopia are in the global south. So in terms of, then it's very simple to say, oh, there might be more means. Also, that's already not always the case. There are affluent people here as well in terms of the capitalistic way of defining affluency and wealth. And there are wealthier people in Ethiopia than people outside of Ethiopia, as well as the reverse. So even that wouldn't make any sense. But the first thing is to understand our context. So I'm an Ethiopian diaspora, and then there's another even different dimension, Ethiopian adoptee diaspora. There's really a different. We might go into that later. But focusing on the diaspora, I have to learn about Ethiopia. I'm not in Ethiopia. I'm going back and forth, but I do not live here. So I first have to understand what I do not know, and understand what the difference is between me as an Ethiopian living outside of Ethiopia and an Ethiopian that lives in Ethiopia. If I understand that, I have a good understanding at least of what I do not know, so I don't make mistakes that will actually aggravate. In this case, really, for example, I did organize years back, just before the conflict started. And conflict is, so I don't want to put this as a namely conflict, but it might come across as not covering what it really was. The between the north and so I'm aware of that, but I lack the vocabulary to really put it into words. So I will call it conflict in this context. I organized a Zoom session because it was COVID at that time for the Ethiopian community in the Netherlands to just voice their feelings. They weren't really so that it was about, the goal was to voice their feelings, vocalize it. That's already I believe one part of a dialogue is being able to vocalize what's internal, and we were combining it with a bit of education. So media literacy. So we had somebody in the Ethiopian community, a journalist, who did not say this is good media, this is bad, but explained about media literacy and about how to critically analyze what is being put front, and how to critically think before you contribute to the media in social media, etc., etc. So it was an event where it was both voicing our feelings about what was happening in Ethiopia, as well as learning about the potential negative aspect that we could have by engaging in social media posts that are not well fact-checked whatsoever. So again, it's about, in my opinion, about learning about ourselves as our Ethiopianness and our non-Ethiopianness as diaspora, then learning about the other, which is Ethiopia in this case, in the context, and then understanding how it relates to the world around us. And then you come to the last part, namely, if you want to engage into a dialogue, then we have to speak a common language. Otherwise, we cannot engage into a dialogue. And because Ethiopia has so many facets, which I can't even begin to say I understand it. So many elements that language is probably very complicated, which you know far more of. And I'm not talking about the 80+ languages, but I'm talking about the language that has to be used in the dialogue of peace.
Yes. So it has different aspects. I mean, you cannot talk in general about the contribution of the diaspora, but in which way and in which context, and you have to understand also the situation That is something which very, very important, which you want to add something?
Yeah, I could add something concrete, because I mentioned how the complication and the difficulties that we should see, but there's also, of course, a possible solution that we're trying to implement, and that is with the Ethiopian Dutch community. We're now busy with also restructuring that and going from when we began 30 years ago, it was quite comprehensive. We had support, we had education in terms of language, we had football, and slowly but steadily, only the football part remained, and the rest was informally. So informally, people were taught Amharic through the church, but it wasn't really formally part of the Ethio-Holland community as an institution. And we're bringing it back now and seeing education as a vital part, education about Ethiopia. So you could see it as studies of humanities, where we teach, where we learn from Ethiopia, Ethiopian professors here as well as in the Netherlands, about Ethiopian philosophies. So not only Amharic philosophy or church philosophy but philosophies. About Ethiopian languages, the multiple languages that are there, and about Ethiopian histories. So all the stories. Those are the three pillars for education, you could say. And what that does is giving us an understanding of reality. And I believe that to go towards peace, if the reality is not understood well, not interpreted well, between the parties that have a conflict, then it will be. I don't know enough about peace resolution, but I can imagine that it will be a very difficult endeavor. So what we're trying to do then first is making sure that our part of the diaspora community understands its reality within the context of Ethiopian conflicts. And Ethiopianness, because it's not only about contributing to conflicts, but with God's will, this will end, and then we still have to contribute. So to contribute to the future of Ethiopia and Ethiopian living, the art of Ethiopian living, how I like to call it, we first have to understand about, we have to educate ourselves. And so we're putting education also center in the Ethiopian Dutch diaspora, Ethio-Holland.
Good, big initiatives and also visions for the future. And before concluding our conversation, can you a little bit just say what your plans are in the coming years here in Ethiopia? You are now combining activities between the Netherlands and here in Ethiopia, but what is the near future plan, just in a few minutes, a few words? Yeah.
Yes. So the few words is to contribute to the evolution of the art of Ethiopian living, and that encompasses construction, which we have the knowledge for, which we have the some knowledge that we can exchange. That encompasses also education, but that encompasses also all the basic needs in terms of nutrition, everything that you can see as Ethiopian living with oneself, the other, and the world around them. That's what I would aim to contribute to in the coming years. And the most concrete example is the vocational academy that is starting this year in a pilot version together with you and with St. John Paul II TVET. As well as the construction projects that we will start taking up this year, and as well as most probably somewhere in the mid or third quarter is the branch, the education branch, in terms of formal education and strategy consultancy for high impact organizations that want to contribute to the future of Ethiopian living, and that will happen within the next 2 to 3 years in different degrees.
Great. And we express also our hope that all will go smoothly in the coming period for you, and we wish you all the best. And then hopefully we will have also again another conversation on different topics which we didn't touch today, and we will remain also in contact, and we look forward to working together with you and with your organization back in the Netherlands. And I see you today dressed with Ethiopian traditional costume. Timkat is in your mind. And then we wish you also blessed Timkat celebration here in your home country, Ethiopia.
Thank you. እንኳን አብሮ አደረሰን።
እንኳን በሰላም አብሮ አደረሰን። እኔም እንደዛ ላለሁኝ ደስ ይላል። እንደዚህ በአንድ ላይ ጥምቀት ከቤተሰብ ጋር ከጓደኞች ጋር ለማክበር ተዘጋጅተሃል?
Celebrate with my friends and family?
Yeah. And then you are also learning Amharic, so ትንሽ ትናገራለህ አይደል? አማርኛ
የተማርኩ ነው ግን እሞክራለሁ።
ጥሩ ነው። መቀጠል ያለብህ ቶሎ ብለህ አማርኛ ከቻል ከብዙ ሰዎች ጋር በአማርኛ መነጋገር ትችላለህ። ጥሩ ነው። አሁን ወደ ኮሌጅ ስትመጣም ከተማሪዎች ጋር እየተነጋገርክ ሰምቻለሁ። ስለዚህ ጥሩ ነው እና ብዙ ደግሞ ቶሎ ኢትዮጵያ ከመጣህ ደግሞ የበለጠ ትማራለህ ማለት ነው አይደለም?
As long as people talk Amharic, keep talking, then I will learn faster indeed.
Yes. No, we'll try to help with that as well. We had a discussion with Mr. Girma on Church in Mission program today, focusing on the social teaching of the church. And Mr. Girma has been for a long period of time in the Netherlands, and he has a number of projects with which he is involved in. And we are very happy that he took the time to discuss on these topics, and I hope the viewers have got insight into the different aspects of the social teaching of the church on the topics which we have raised together. And we hope for all that the church which is in mission in the social sector will continue to contribute in the society, and all of us will contribute also towards that. God bless us all.